Do you ever feel like you have difficulty taking a really deep breath? Or maybe occasionally you have pain underneath your collarbone, and you know it's not the collarbone, it feels like it's something underneath. Well, you may be having issues with your first rib. And a lot of people are really surprised to find out that their first rib is up here below your collarbone. So, right now, we're doing a series that is called Yes, That Is Supposed to Move. And a lot of people don't realize that their first ribs are so high. It is located behind your collarbone. I wouldn't say below, it's actually behind your collarbone. And how important it is that it moves correctly. So, the first rib is an attachment point for so many muscles. A lot of the muscles that start in your neck go down to attach to your first rib or your clavicle, your collarbone. There we go. That's the other word for it. Or onto your shoulder blades, even. So a lot of the muscles that are up in here attach to these bones that are down here in what we would consider the shoulder area. And the first rib is critically important because of the attachment of those muscles. So let me explain. A lot of these muscles are also, in addition to moving your head, right? So they move your head around so you can see the world. They also are super important in breathing, but they're only supposed to be used when you are in fight or flight, right? So you see the bear, I need to get all the oxygen to my lungs. I need to get all the, my heart pumping so that my muscles have oxygen and they can run away from the bear, right? That's the fight or flight response. And so you need to be able to fully inflate your lungs. So obviously the diaphragm is this big muscle down here, and that's the one that's responsible for breathing. And we talk about that a lot because proper normal breathing that we want to be doing on a regular basis needs to be using the diaphragm. However, we also need to be able to activate those accessory muscles of respiration for the times when we see the bears and we need to run away. Now, here's the really challenging thing. In our society today, we tend to spend more time in that fight or flight response because of things in our environment, things we're seeing on TV or on social media or whatever it is, conversations we're having, and we tend to use those accessory muscles of respiration a lot. And so what happens is these muscles get really tight, right? You feel like you have really tight neck muscles. It could be because of this. And then that first rib gets elevated. So then it gets stuck up in there and it can't move normally the way it's supposed to. And that can end up causing a lot of pain because it needs to be able to move. Now, the ribs don't move a lot. I'm not saying they should be sliding all over the place. That's a whole nother problem. That's not what we're discussing today. In general, the first rib is one that will stop moving correctly. In fact, I had a patient earlier this year who came in and she was actually here for shoulder pain. But when I was doing the evaluation, I saw a huge loss of muscle mass, I guess is all I can say, in her pecs. And what had happened is that the first rib had gotten stuck backwards. And so it had kind of pulled all the muscles there. And so the pecs were not able to activate correctly. And I usually try to play it pretty cool when I'm doing an evaluation. I've seen a lot of things, not too much really surprises me or freaks me out at this point. But I remember when I was doing her evaluation and all of a sudden I saw her pecs and I was like, ooh. and because obviously I was in front of her, right? So she could see my face. She's like, what is the ooh? And I was like, oh, well, it's okay. It'll be fine. But I mean, it just literally this huge divot where her pecs are supposed to be. And she was a strong person. So this is not somebody who, expected to have low muscle mass. As it turned out, as we fixed things up, we got that rib moving. The pecs came back into their normal position. We're able to activate correctly, which obviously helped with her shoulder problem. All this to say, the first rib is so incredibly important. It's important in your shoulder, it's important in your neck, it's important in your breathing. And it's really, really, really important because we want to make sure that you're spending more time using your diaphragm to breathe than using these accessory muscles of respiration. We don't want to over fatigue them. We don't want to, we don't want to be living our lives there, right? We don't want to be living our lives using these accessory muscles because they get tired, they get fatigued, they get painful, and they cause problems later on that we don't want to have to deal with. So your first rib, it's underneath your clavicle, and so it's actually like, if you really want to dig down, it's you can actually feel it. It's really tender though in general for most people because the muscles there are really tight. So I'm not saying go dig around on it, but if you're wondering where it is, that's where it is. It's kind of sits right behind the clavicle, and when you push on that area and you feel that tenderness, that's the muscles that are attaching to the first rib that are tender. So you're right near that area. Most people can't actually touch their first rib just because it is so sensitive, but people are really surprised to find out that their ribs are really that high, and they really are. I mean, the ribs really start at the shoulders, and of course they go down really far, and in general we are able to feel that, but a lot of people don't understand how high they are, and therefore the connection they have with the shoulder and the neck. Which is why if you're having any neck or shoulder pain, or neck and shoulder pain, you definitely need to be checking out the first rib, finding out how it's moving, and talking about how you're breathing. Because if we continue to use those accessory muscles of respiration, we're going to have problems in the long run. That's just kind of the guaranteed. All right. I hope this was helpful. I hope you enjoyed learning about a new bone that you may not have known its location before, and we will be back with you next week. Have a great one, everyone. Bye.